To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
I don't consent to recording this call.
I'll see you in the car.
I need to know.
I can't think of anything, Mike, other than we live in a wicked world and innocent people are in prison.
Yep. All right. And this is a curiosity question. I've done some calculations on the timber deal that I was working on. They wanted to write it or effectively get $1 billion worth of timber a year. And after expenses of harvesting and everything, I come up with a figure of what would be the distribution to the Chilcoot Nation tribal members. I don't know how many tribal members there are. I never could get a direct response to that. I don't know if Dorothy can answer that question or not, but if they've got a handle on roughly how many Chilcoot tribal members there are, if there's like 10,000 of them, it'd be $50,000 a year that they would be making, which I think it was somewhere between 10 and 30,000. If it was 30,000, they'd be making 16,000 a year for their distribution, their cut, and that's a conservative estimate. It could be twice that much, but this is a conservative estimate. I always like to shoot double what it could be, so that if they get more than what they expect, they're happy. But I'm thinking there's got to be some tribal member up there who's got the ability, who's interested in getting a good paying job and getting money to get their kids back or whatever, that would be willing to help me in getting the resources I need to fight, like getting in touch with Bill Waugh, the owner of the timber company, and getting him to contact that Chinese company that's the buyer of the timber, to contact their Chinese ambassador to the United States and say, hey, we got a fellow, trading partner, the Chilcoot Nation over here we're trying to do business with, but you got their ambassador locked up. This is a guy that's facilitating the deal for the Chilcoot Nation, who they trust. They don't trust anybody else, so they're not going to do it with anybody else but him. And, oh, by the way, your company there in Tennessee stands to make $100 million a year off the deal, just managing the harvesting, which is going to directly, economic impact 101. You putting $100 million into the Jackson, Tennessee economy annually, that's a good thing. And I would think that anybody with any kind of political savvy would see the win-win-win scenario here. Heck, even Trump's campaign could see, okay, wow, this guy who's done everything by the book, been a straight-laced guy his whole life, is being railroaded because of politics from the backwoods mafia. And what is he doing? He's helping a sovereign nation develop their own natural resources so they can get their kids back primarily from the Canadian foster care system, where they're being pimped out for child sex trafficking racket, and balancing the books for their nation through their trust fund corrupt system, just like this country. And what are we doing to this guy? We're sending him to prison for the rest of his life, effectively. I don't know. That just doesn't add up. Why don't we see if we can't get this guy free and his wife free? And then maybe the people out there voting might think, wow, the Trump campaign really does care and stand up for we the people. Just a thought. But,
yeah.
Obviously the people that are listening to this up there either can't or won't do these things. I don't know. I can't say that it's a choice. It might be that they can't. I don't know. And that's the problem. I don't know if they've sent any letters, and I've just never been given them. I don't know if they've ever gotten the letters I've sent them. That's the thing. I don't know. I'm in a vacuum of information where I have no information whatsoever about what's going on up there, if anything at all is going on.
Yeah. I can tell you that letters that was sent to me from people up north did not make it, and there's highly suspicion that the FBI is intercepting mail, and the excuse given was you and some other folks have been labeled domestic terrorists and they have the right to intercept your mail or some crap.
No, they don't. No, they don't. You can't just label somebody something and just intercept the mail. Well, see, you're an easy target, okay? They can set, the post offices have the ability to scan the mail, and they are flagging certain mail. It's done it's automated flagging. So what these people have to do is use a little bit of common sense. Give somebody else the mail to somebody else that's in the vicinity of where you're at that can get it to you. Not mail it directly to you, but to somebody else, a third party. And that's why I made the suggestion about a law office or a paralegal that, there need to be alliances made with people that have the ability to receive mail that would not be otherwise infiltrated or seized. And because we're basically dead. I'm dead in the water. I don't have access to my legal material. I've been getting it access 1 hour once a month. Every 30 days I get access to my box of legal material for 1 hour period. And I don't have a pen during that 1 hour. So I'm effectively denied access to prepare legal documents to send to the court.
Yeah.
So that is unacceptable. That is Banana Republic, Kangaroo Court, Gestapo tactics. It's totally unacceptable, unaccountable. The 14th Amendment clause about, everybody equal access under the law, protection is thrown out the window. And where are these civil libertarian groups? Where are they? It's like when your neighbor's house is on fire, what do? Do you sit there and watch, get marshmallows, maybe have a bonfire, enjoy yourself, and say nothing? Or do you call the fire department? Or, like what I did when my neighbor's house caught on fire, I went and pulled my water hose and started putting water on
No, it's dead.
You
sure? I'm sure.
Sometimes people actually have to take responsibility for themselves, like they try to say, we took the water. The law is ours to apply and not apply. We're the source of the law. The people are the source of the law. But they're not teaching you that. They brainwash the public into thinking they don't have the power to exercise their rights. That they no longer literally have rights. These are rights or privileges.
How much?
If your right to defend yourself and your right to bear arms, which is recognized as a God-given right, can be arbitrarily taken away by some bureaucrat, but it was never a right to begin with. I mean,
it's all torn up.
Effectively, you have no rights if you don't stand up for them. And people are trading their rights daily. They convert their right to travel into a privilege by getting a driver's license. I don't know if you know anybody other than the guy up north in Montana that travels without a license, but I know dozens of people that travel that do not have any kind of license, and they don't get tickets.
Yeah, there's a guy named Anthony Troy Williams. He's a black dude. He's in a Hawaii federal prison. He published very professional websites. I mean, these are very professionally quality, and he advertised to people on how to do exactly that. I got friends that drive without driver's license all the time. Oh my gosh!
What is that?
Yeah.
Glasses.
Yeah, I left something on the hood. I left something on the hood of my car while I was talking to you, and I got to get the phone to Aaron. Everything I left on the hood of the car just now. But yeah, driving without a driver's license.
Yeah, we know people who do that, and when they go to jail, they call us for bail money.
No, but John Lamb does it. John Lamb does it, and he doesn't go to jail. There's lots of people that do it and don't go to jail.
Right.
Was that all that was up there?
Yeah.
I haven't had a license for a long time, and I haven't had a ticket since 1988. But anyway,
It sounded like more than glasses.
No, we're good, Mike.
But it's basically a situation where people have to start exercising their rights, or otherwise they have none.
Yeah, they hate people like you that want to exercise their rights and get out of the system. And that's why they target you so much. And another thing that's common with you, that's common with Jeffrey Winehouse, Schaefer Cox, David Hinkson, is maybe not David Hinkson so much, but you ran for public office and you were winning, and they absolutely hate people that run for public office and win.
Well, and I won in a landslide. I won in just an overwhelming 10,000 some odd to less than 2,000 votes, and the people are ready for restoration of liberty. Now, that guy, Anthony Williams, doesn't he know something about how to convert a 401k to withdraw your funds to pay off a mortgage without incurring taxes and penalties? And looking into the tax situation of how to avoid taxes altogether.
Yeah, Anthony Troy Williams, I don't know all the details, but I do know that he was exposing banking and mortgage fraud. There's a video of him standing outside of a home, and he's working with the homeowner to tell the sheriff that they have to go because they haven't followed the proper procedure of law. And the bank wanted the people evicted, but Anthony's standing up for them, saying you can't evict them, you haven't gone through the proper process yet. And the sheriff ended up having to leave, because they had to admit they haven't done what they needed to do to evict these people, and they hated that.
That's why they want 80 IQ sheriffs, because they want people that are border followers and not people that can bank it. Obviously, they had a sheriff there who had the mental capacity and IQ to realize, okay, let's see if he's got his facts in order. What is the requirement? Here's the thing: I've got cases where one guy tried to sue me, and I went and handled it myself. I got the thing dismissed 3 different times because the first 2 times they had never served me properly. And I said, Judge, you can't proceed until I've been served properly. I've never been served properly, and you can't serve me. He has to do the rules of court. We're either going to follow them or we're not. And if we're not, we have 1 minute left in court. And so she dismissed it. And finally, I got with the attorney. I said, your client's running a fraud. I said, do you want to be exposed for being part of a fraud? I've done nothing to harm anybody. And we go to trial with the jury hears this. They're going to look at you, and your client's going to be sued for perpetrating an insurance fraud, and I'll be the winner there. So what would you like to do? And he says, well, I'll go in there and dismiss the case against you right now, because he realized he had a fighter that wasn't going to roll over and just play dead. They like people to roll over and play dead. They like people to believe. It's a belief system. They tell the jury, Mr. Parsons is presumed innocent, but then at the end of the trial he says, if you believe that he's guilty, well, wait a minute, if I'm presumed innocent, that means you believe that I'm innocent. How can you overcome a belief of innocence by him saying, well, if
Mike,
you believe he's guilty?
Did you get charged with 924C3B?
I don't know what that is.
Okay,
Thank you for using Securus. Goodbye. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2. If you would like to permanently block your number from receiving calls from this facility, press 6. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
I don't send the recording of this call. I did look through my notes, and I found that 924 information, and that has to do with what they claim is the definition of a violent charge. I think it was a DeMaya case that was referenced in where I got the information from.
Okay, Mike, I can barely hear you, but there's been a Supreme Court decision lately that if you've been charged with 924C3B, and that applies to various political prisoners.
It's referenced in mine too.
It references yours too?
It's not in mine, but it was in DeMaya. It has to do with the references to a violent charge, but it does stem from mine because under the sentencing guidelines, they're claiming my prior charges were violent. But go ahead.
Okay, so if you, anyway, people that were charged with that, they're getting out of prison. We've got one guy that's been in prison 12 years. He wasn't going to get out until 2033, and he feels very confident, but he says you don't just get out, you have to file a motion, and you have to do something. So I'm gonna like mail you some information on this. And did you get my latest letter?
What was in it?
I sent a bunch of like introductory stuff about what our ministry is, and I had a handwritten note. You didn't get a handwritten note? Huh?
I was talking to a lady here. Go ahead.
Oh, did you get my latest letter with a handwritten note and a bunch of introductory stuff about our ministry?
I got a letter last week about your ministry that was sent back in March. I got 2 letters that were sent in March.
Okay, no, yeah, they haven't I sent it at the beginning of the week. You should have got it, but they're holding all your mail, obviously.
Right. That's what they do. They open the mail, they hold it so that it's past the deadline. If it's legal from the courts, I don't get it until weeks later, or if I get it at all.
Look into that Davis decision.
But yeah, there was a reference to a Seventh-day Adventist. At some point, a Seventh-day Adventist lawyer. It's a website that was referral, and if those people have the ability to receive and send out legal correspondence that would be recognized as legal. And I know that they're diligent people, and I guarantee you, if you had one in your community, they would probably be more than happy to facilitate sending and receiving communications that would be recognized as legal for many people.
Okay. Well, but whatever anybody else decides to do, that's fine, and I advocate, you know, but you know me and lawyers, I hate them. I hate them with a passion.
Yes,
I think,
yes.
So, okay, all right. So, but if anybody else wants to work with a lawyer and deal with lawyers, and hopefully they make good things, but I've seen the destruction and I've just seen the destroyed lives that lawyers leave behind, and I've never met one, Mike, but I could go on, and I don't want to use our call for that purpose, you know.
Right. Not a problem, and I know that you know, I'm basically in a trap where I don't have access to the resources. I've got not only my case but my wife's case that I'm trying to work on. Filed a writ of habeas corpus. Never was able to verify if my mom actually sent the $5 or not, if they received it. And also I'd requested that Dorothy, and this is like 3 months ago, look under Article 13 of the Vienna Convention. Did they send a true copy of my credentials to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the State Department, and did they send it certified mail to verify that it was sent? This is important stuff. And, you know, this is something that they can use to effectively recognize me. It could be just an administrative thing where if you don't send it the way they want it, they're not denying me because they've never come forward and said, we don't recognize you. They just haven't responded. Or if they responded, I've never gotten it. But this could be the thing that allows them to say, okay, now we've got it in the form that we need, so you're good to go. We realize, okay, and I sent you a copy of the historical references to the Chilcoot Nation that the United States has recognized prior to the United States being the United States, when it was, you know, a few years before the Revolutionary War. And then thereafter the Jay Treaty, and then the other, the Saxby case. It's a recognized country. Heck, even Jack London in The Call of the Wild referenced the travel through the Chilcoot by Buck the dog pulling the mail sleds through that area delivering mail. But it's not a made-up country. It's not a, you know, fantasy of somebody's imagination. It's a real country.
Yeah, I remember Call of the Wild and reading that when I was a young man. I remember that.
Usually around 8th, 9th, 10th grade, depending on where you're going to public school. That's a required reading. And, you know, they had a copy of it here, and this one guy was telling me that he didn't believe that Chilcoot Nation existed because he's never heard of it, he's ignorant of it, that means it doesn't exist. I was like, well, a tree falls in the forest, but because you didn't hear it or see it, does that mean it didn't fall? No, it still fell. I said, you've got to look at the history and look in this very book. Have you read this book? And they said, yeah. I said, did you read where it referenced going to the Chilcoot? That's the Chilcoot Nation. That's why I was looking for those maps that had any Chilcoot with a question mark behind it.
Did you ever get the maps that I mailed to you from Dorothy? Did they ever get through?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
I got them.
Okay. It took a long time, but they finally gave them to you. Okay.
I got the black and white. I never got the color, but I got the black and white. But at least I was able to look at them, and you know, and the thing about it is, these people will never admit that they're wrong and that they're perpetrating a fraud against we the people. So those people out there on the sidelines that are waiting for the government to say, oh yeah, we were wrong, they were right, it's not going to happen. They still will not admit the Gulf of Tonkin was a staged event, that the United States lied and said that their ship was attacked when it really wasn't. They're never going to acknowledge it on the moon, or if that was a sound stage in California, because if you look at physical evidence, look underneath the lunar lander, there would be a crater from the rocket to slow the lunar lander down. There would be a crater where the dust had been blown out, but there wasn't.
Yeah, I totally question that event too. I have, sorry, I hit my wife accidentally. Anyway.
But there, there's why we went into the Second World War, because the United States forces were blockading the oil freighters going from Malaysia to Japan. Japan was in a war with China, and Japan has no oil of their own. And the United States was blocking the oil freighters to get to Japan, so they were interfering with the internal affairs of another country. They provoked them. Here's the technique that Tipton County does. They attack me. They send out their minions to attack me, and when I defend myself, when I call the cops and report it and defend myself legally, then they charge me with what was done to me. This is their technique. This is what the gangs do. They provoke you in defending yourself, and then they say that's the basis for their attacking you. They justify the evil that they do because you responded in defending yourself. You got a right to defend yourself. It's a God-given human right that everybody has, and as soon as people wake up to the tyranny that is amongst us, with these corporations posing as government, the sooner they can be shut down and throttled back and stopped. It's out of control, it's nonsense, and it needs to stop. And I think Judge Napolitano, I saw this little blurb on this kiosk a week ago, and he says that the whole thing is out of control. And, the men in black sitting on these benches are not gods. They don't have the power to edict, but they've got an army of people to support their opinions. The whole thing is a fraud. Your rights should be first. Your liberty, the whole thing about, the foundation of this country, liberty and justice for all, justice meaning truth and accountability. Well, when there's no justice for judges, then there's no accountability. There's no truth. There's no justice. Just back out of it. And right now, we don't have any accountability for these unelected people that are appointed. These bureaucrats, the Bureau of Prisons, who wrote a pre-sentence investigative report demonizing me, saying, well, he's just a violent guy because he effectively, if you start from the beginning, they went on our property, opened our gate, let our wolves out, shot and killed my wolves.
Hey, Mike, let me read to you what some joker said and my response and his counter response, and if you care, I'd like for you to respond.
Sure.
Okay, this is a video that I uploaded a few days ago. He goes by the name of Orlando Rodriguez Jr. Let's see if he's a valid dude. He's got pictures of him and his wife. He appears to be a real life person. Here's what this guy wrote. I don't fault Mike for being frustrated. Unfortunately, self-defense doesn't apply in his case. He was not in a place where he had a right to be. He crossed the fence.
Stop.
I want to read you the whole thing. I know he's saying a bunch of. He says a lot of BS. I know. He says he was not in a place where he had a right to be. He crossed the fence into his neighbor's farm. It sucks that he was convicted on a technicality, but he can't keep lying to himself about it. That's Orlando Rodriguez Jr. Here's what I said. Mike. I said, so if someone shoots at you 29 times, kills your dog, fires in the direction of your wife, you're not allowed to cross the property line in an attempt to stop them? I guess you don't operate in the world that I do. He replied back. He said, Rudy Davis, you're not allowed to do that in Tennessee, and those are not the facts of the case. Neither Mike or his wife were shot at. Mike was over 400 feet away from the dog. None of the shots could have hit him. His wife was 800 feet away behind a hill and woods, and she was never in any danger. 400 feet doesn't sound like a very safe place to be when 29 shots are being rang out across the property line.
And the kill range of a Ruger 1022 is a mile, so he's full of crapola, and he's wrong. All of his information is wrong. He wasn't there. He's not a witness. The perpetrators of the crime is what he's using as his basis. And here's the thing. In Tennessee, you got a right to not only effect the citizen's arrest, you got the right to go follow them, track them down, and use deadly force. I've given y'all the TCA codes. If you're too ignorant to look it up, I'm sorry. But the fact is, I had a right to be there because I have a right to defend my wife and my animal. This guy was not on his property. It wasn't his property. I have a right to go retrieve my dog that he shot at on my property, scared her onto the neighbor's property. She was in a pond. He crossed the street to get a better shot, as he testified. I have a right to go get her and protect her. He doesn't have a right to shoot my animal, and he was shooting at my wife and my dog when he initially started shooting. Yeah. The fact that he is the initial perpetrator means that I can defend myself. He is wrong. He's guilty. And it says under 39 what is it, 17, 13, 22, that if you're in a place where you have a right to be and you're the victim, you can't be charged or prosecuted. He doesn't want to acknowledge that the system is wrong and broken. He wants to weasel around and find a way to support a broken system because he doesn't want to deal with the broken system.
No, you're exactly right. You know what I found, Mike, is these people who want to justify the system, they can't face the fact that we have innocent men and women that have, been targeted, incarcerated, and unjustly convicted. And if that was true, which I believe it is true, that people have been unjustly convicted, then it means that they got to do something, right? But he don't want to do anything. He don't want to care, so he's going to justify.
My dog was assassinated. My dog did nothing to anybody. My wife did nothing. I did nothing to anybody. We're attacked, and he said in court, he testified. It's in the record. Look it up. Listen to the audio. He testified that he shot because he was mad I was suing his buddy, the county executive, over a rigged election. This was all political. He wasn't worried about my dog for his safety. That was BS. That didn't happen. He first said at the preliminary hearing, he said, get on your knees, put a gun to my head, I could see the spiral of the barrel of the gun. Okay, and then at trial, when they found out that I had an actual audio recording of the event, and I was 30 feet away, never got within 30 feet of him. I said, well, did you get on your knees? He said, hell no, I didn't get on my knees, I ain't getting it. So the guy lied. I said, so here you said you did get on your knees, here you said you didn't. I said, when was you lying? Was you lying then or you lying now? Yeah. The thing is that he's a criminal, he's the perpetrator, but because this corporation posing as government is his buddy, this guy doesn't want to deal with the fact, like we said, he doesn't want to deal with a corrupt corporation. He wants to support it because he believes that it's just. And he's wrong. He's wrong as he can be, and, that's his error.
Yeah. No, people just won't face the facts that we have a corrupt system, that, you ran for a public office, you were winning. We have corrupt officials that wanted to retaliate against you. And if that was all true, if your story's all true, it means that people are obligated to do something about it. But because they're so freaking lazy and apathetic, they don't want to do anything about it. So they just want to justify the fact that it must be.
1 minute left.
Anyway, Mike.
He wants to suck up to the power base because he wants to be on the side of the power, and then eventually, when I'm exonerated and quit, he said, well, I supported Mike all along. I just thought... Yeah.
When you get out, and you start, everybody's going to be your friend, and everybody's going to say how they supported you the whole time. You're so right about that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. But the fact is that I have a right to defend myself, my wife, and my property, and I did. I have a right to run for elective office. I won in a landslide. Here's the thing. If it wasn't such a big deal, let's recount the votes. Let's look at the smart cards and let's forensically examine them, see if they've manipulated and flipped the votes, and if so, hold them accountable. What's wrong with that? That's what you call justice in America. What we've got now is a road backwards mafia that's corrupted, that is destroying people's lives like mine and my wife's, and it needs to stop. Help us stop it. Don't attack us too. You're working for the
Thank you for using Securus. Goodbye.
All right, that's Mike Parsons, MikeParsons.org. Him and his wife was an engineer for 25 years, a contributing member of society. The FBI entrapped her, and now she's sitting in an Alabama prison, and Mike Parsons has been sitting in prison for several years. I've lost track, but you can go look at his arrest date on yearofjubilee.com. I pray you write him a letter, let him know you care about him and love him. Thank you for your time.